This scam did not start with a theft. It started with a bill. A notification appeared, claiming a subscription had just been renewed for a high amount. The charge looked urgent, unexpected, and immediate. There was only one option presented: call now to cancel before the payment is processed. Victims reacted quickly, trying to stop the charge before it went through. But the number they called was not support, it was the entry point. Within minutes, screens were shared, access was granted, and control began to shift. What looked like a refund process turned into direct account access. By the time they realized, the money was already gone. By the early 2020s, subscription-based services had become a standard part of digital life, from antivirus software to cloud tools and streaming platforms. Users were privy to receiving renewal notifications, billing alerts, and automated invoices tied to their accounts. This created a pattern where unexpected charges still felt believable, even when they were unusually high. At the same time, brand recognition played a major role in trust, with familiar names reducing hesitation. Fake alerts began to mirror real invoices, including logos, amounts, and reference numbers. These messages often appeared through email, browser pop-ups, or redirect pages triggered during normal browsing. The key trigger was not the message itself, but the amount, often large enough to force immediate attention. In reported cases, individuals reacted within minutes, trying to stop a charge they believed was already in progress. That urgency removed the usual step of verification, and in that moment, what looked like a billing issue became the starting point of the scam. The first contact did not come as a warning. It appeared as a completed transaction. An email or pop-up displayed a renewal invoice, often for antivirus or software services, showing a large charge already processed. The message included details that looked structured: invoice number, subscription name, and a support contact to cancel. There was no option to ignore it. The only visible action was to respond immediately. Victims did not wait. They reacted to stop the charge before it became permanent. In many cases, they called the number provided or clicked the support link without hesitation. That step changed everything. Instead of verifying the charge, they entered a controlled interaction designed to guide their next move. The conversation began professionally, calm, helpful, and precise. At that point, what felt like customer support was already part of the scam system. The call did not raise suspicion. It followed the structure of a real support interaction. The agent confirmed the charge and offered to process a cancellation or refund. To complete this, the victim was asked to follow a few simple steps on their computer. They were guided to install remote access software, presented as a secure support tool. Once installed, the screen was shared and control quietly shifted. The victim could still see everything, but the system was no longer fully theirs. The agent navigated through settings, banking pages, or forms, explaining each step as part of the refund process. What looked transparent was carefully controlled. At that moment, the scam moved from conversation to access, and the real transaction had not even begun yet. With access established, the process shifted from assistance to manipulation. The agent opened a banking page or simulated one, guiding the victim through a refund confirmation. Numbers appeared on the screen, showing a transfer that seemed larger than expected. The explanation came immediately. A mistake had been made. An extra amount had been sent. The tone changed, calm but urgent. The difference had to be returned quickly. The victim was told the error could trigger account issues if not corrected. Under pressure, they were guided step by step to transfer money back. Each action was framed as fixing the mistake. In some cases, the process was repeated, each time extracting more funds. By then, the situation no longer felt like a choice, it felt like an obligation. The moment the transfers were completed, the interaction began to change. Responses became slower, less precise, and eventually stopped. The refund process that seemed urgent moments earlier was no longer discussed. Victims were left looking at their accounts, trying to understand what had actually happened. In many cases, the money sent could not be reversed. The access that had been granted remained a risk even after the call ended. Saved credentials, emails, and other accounts were now exposed. What started as a single payment often expanded into additional losses. The realization did not come immediately. It unfolded step by step. By the time it was clear, the system had already completed its cycle. What seemed like a one-off incident began appearing in similar patterns across multiple victims. The same invoice format, the same support scripts, and the same refund explanation repeated again and again. Call centers handled large volumes of incoming calls triggered by identical alerts. Victims were not randomly selected. They were responding to carefully placed entry points. In some cases, hundreds of calls were processed daily using the same method. Financial losses accumulated quickly, often in small amounts per victim, but large in total. Banks and support teams started noticing repeated complaints tied to refund-related transactions. At that point, the pattern became difficult to ignore. What looked like isolated mistakes began connecting into a structured operation, and the scale of the system started to become visible. As patterns became clear, regulators and law enforcement began tracing the source of these operations. Complaints linked to identical scripts and payment flows pointed to organized call center networks. In multiple cases, operations were traced to groups running coordinated setups across different regions. Investigations revealed structured roles, callers, technical handlers, and payment processors working together. Some networks were found operating from call centers in South Asia and Eastern Europe. Authorities conducted raids and made arrests connected to large-scale refund scam operations. Funds were tracked through layered transfers designed to reduce traceability. Banks and platforms introduced warnings and safeguards around remote access and refund claims. The investigation confirmed a system built on manipulation, access control, and repeatable human behavior.